Welcome. In the next 25 minutes, hopefully less, I'm going to try to explain to you how Medicare works. As you can imagine, 25 minutes is not enough time to cover everything, but my goal is that you will have a very good understanding of the basics, and that'll lay the foundation to help you make more informed decisions. As we go through this presentation, you will see there are helpful links posted on the side. These are not active links because this is a video recording, so the links are not active for you. However, most all of these links will be found at patientsupportservicesusa.com. Additionally, you can also send us an email to request any links. The email to use is info@pss-usa.com. Okay, this is what the Medicare card looks like. Everybody's name will show up there, and you'll have a unique identifying number, and it will have the hospital Part A effective date and medical Part B effective date. These dates do not always match. They generally match for people who are enrolling right when they turn 65. Some people delay enrolling, starting the Part A when they turn 65 and delaying Part B until they're done working, or maybe their spouse is done working. Okay, what does Medicare Part A cover? This covers your facility services, such as the room and board when you're an inpatient in the hospital. It also covers your skilled nursing facility care, but this is non-custodial, non-long-term care. So this is, you broke your hip, you spend 3 days in the hospital sends you to skilled nursing in order to get you rehabilitated so you can safely get back home. That's the type of care that's covered under Medicare Part A. Home health care is also very limited. The best example I can give you is a diabetic who ends up with wounds on their feet, and the doctor wants the bandages changed out 2 to 3 times a week, and it would be very difficult for the patient to get into the doctor's office. So the doctor sends a nurse to the home. The nurse changes the bandage, does the wound check, and then they leave the home. That's the extent of home health care with Medicare. Medicare will also cover your hospice care. The monthly premium for this is typically $0. You've already paid for it with your taxes. Now, the premium is $0, so it doesn't cost anything to have it, but if you're going to use it, there are some substantial costs you need to be aware of. The first 60 days that you're in the hospital, you will have a deductible of $1,736. This is not an annual deductible. This is not a one-time deductible. This is a deductible you have to pay for every time you're hospitalized. As you can imagine, that can get very expensive if you have a really bad year. If you're in the hospital for more than 60 days but less than 90 days, you have a $434 per day copay. And if you need more than 90 days, you get 60 lifetime reserve days. So once these 60 days are used up, they're no longer going to be available to you for the rest of your life. And they're pretty expensive at $860 per day. If you're hospitalized more than 150 days, you're responsible for all the costs for the remainder of your stay. This would fall into a long-term care category. So if you're in that situation and you have long-term care, this is when you would tap into that resource. If you don't have long-term care, but you want to check to see what it would cost you to get it at this time, give us a call and we'll share with you what we can offer you here. And if we can't offer you something that you need, we can refer you someplace else. Skilled nursing facility, for the first 20 days, they cover 100% of the cost. If you're in the skilled nursing facility more than 20 days but less than 100, you have to pay $217 per day. If you're in a skilled nursing facility for more than 100 days, then you'll pay for all the costs for the remainder of your stay. Medicare Part B. The monthly premium for this is typically $202.90 just to have the Part B option, which is why some people don't take the Part B when they turn 65 because they're still employed and it's cheaper for them to stay with their employer. More and more, I'm seeing people that are spending way more than this with their employer coverage, and so they're opting to go ahead and leave the employer coverage even though they have it and go to Part B. And we can discuss your specific situation with you to determine what is your best course of action given your unique situation. So with Part B, they cover the office visits. They also cover the care that a doctor will provide you while you're in the hospital. They will cover emergency room and urgent care visits, surgeons, radiology labs, and ground and air ambulance services. Now, they cover it, but they don't cover it 100%. So in addition to paying the monthly premium, you're responsible for 20% of the approved amount. The approved amount is what Medicare says, what their rates are. If you go to a doctor that does not accept Medicare rates, they can legally charge you 115% of the Medicare rate and balance bill you for that 15%. So you're paying 20% plus the 15%. Additionally, one time in the year, you will have to pay a $283 deductible. Very reasonable deductible because it's just once a year. All right, so how do you know if your Part B premium is going to be more than or less than $202.90? If you file an individual tax return, look at the column on the left here to identify where your income lies. If you file joint tax returns, look at where your income lies. And this is taking income from 2024 to determine what you have to pay in 2026. If you file a joint tax return and your income is more than $218,000 but less than $274,000, your income-related monthly adjustment amount is $81.20. So you add the $81.20 to the $202.90 for a grand total of $284.10 every month. This is per person, not per couple. Also, you should know that if you've had a life-changing event, let's say you retired, you just retired this year, so your income is going to be way less. Like say in 2024, you made $250,000, but in 2026, you're not going to make that. Let us know. We can help you file an appeal given your life-changing event and get this amount recalculated given your unique situation. There are two different ways that you can protect yourself from the high out-of-pocket costs associated with original Medicare. The first way is with a Medicare supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan. I sell quite a few of Plan G Medicare supplements as well as the Plan N Medicare supplements. So I'm just in this video, for the sake of time, we're just going to cover these two, but you kind of get the idea with this chart here. So if you wanted to go with Plan G, which is kind of like the Cadillac plan that's available to all applicants right now, you would pay a monthly premium on top of the $202.90 Part B premium. You'll pay a premium to a private insurance company to get on their Plan G supplement. And what you'll get in return is they will pay for the Medicare Part A co-payments. They will also give you 365 additional hospital days after your Medicare benefits end. They'll cover that Medicare Part A hospital deductible, the Medicare Part B coinsurance or copayment, they'll cover that. They will not cover the Part B deductible, but you may remember the Part B deductible is an annual deductible of $283. So it's very reasonable deductible. Most people can manage that. Plan G will also cover Part B excess charges. So if you go to a physician who doesn't accept the Medicare approved rates and they have the Part B excess charge, so they charge 115% of the Medicare approved rates, Plan G is going to pick up that extra 15% for you. Plan G will also cover the first 3 pints of blood. They will pay foreign travel emergency up to their plan limit. So they pay 80% of the foreign travel emergency. Most foreign travel emergencies, you're looking around $50,000 is what they'll cover. So they'll cover 80% of the cost up to $50,000. If you are on a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage, whatever plan you're on, and you're going to be traveling overseas, please reach out to us. We do provide travel insurance for our clients. It's very reasonable, very inexpensive, and it just gives you a lot of peace of mind because it includes things like medical evacuation. You can even get pre-existing conditions covered for you if we select the right plan. We got to be careful about that. So if you go on a cruise, and I know there's a lot of cruise companies that offer travel insurance, I have found that my rates are generally much cheaper and more comprehensive than what you can get on your cruise. So definitely worth reaching out to us if you're going to be traveling outside the United States. The Plan G will cover your hospice Part A coinsurance or copayments and respite care expenses. It will also pay for those skilled nursing facility coinsurances. You can see the only difference between Plan G and Plan N is right in the middle here. The Part B coinsurance or copayment, if you go to a doctor and you have Plan N, you will pay a $20 copay for that doctor visit. If you go to the emergency room, you will pay $50. Again, neither plans will cover the Part B deductible, and Plan N will not cover excess charges. So if you go to a physician who requires 115% payment, you will be responsible for that extra 15% on top of the $20 copay. There are some other plans that aren't specifically listed on here. They're mentioned a little bit over here on the right side of the screen. Those are high deductible plans, and I actually really do like the high deductible plans because you're responsible for all of the original Medicare copays and coinsurances only until you've paid out $2,950. Then once you've paid out the $2,950, you get all of this that's in Plan G. And it keeps those premiums low for you. So it's a more affordable way to get this coverage. Now you can see there's no prescription drug coverage with the supplement, which is why we need to pair it with a standalone prescription drug plan. Standalone prescription drug plans, they start out with a deductible. However, the carriers are allowed to put the drugs in different tier levels. So they have their own formulary of drugs, but they are required to provide at least 2 drugs in every category. So if your specific drug is not covered, it is likely that you can substitute it for something else and still have it covered on this plan. If your physician says, no, Destiny, you cannot have any of these other drugs. You're way too allergic to them. You need to be on this drug, and it's not on the formulary. Then the doctor can work with me and work with my insurance company and request a formulary exception. I've had this happen for several of my clients, and it's always ended up in my client's favor. Also, you might have a deductible that you have to meet before the plan starts paying their share. Usually the deductible only falls with the more expensive drugs. So not only is there a list of drugs that the insurance company says that they'll cover, they've put them into 5 different tier categories. Well, most of them are 5. Some of them are different numbers. There might be 6 or 4, but generally speaking, there's 5 categories. The first one might be preferred generic drugs. The second one might be generic drugs. And these 2 would not be counted towards the deductible. So if all of your drugs fall under these 2 tiers, you won't have to meet a deductible. If your drugs fall under tier 3, that might be a preferred brand name drug. Tier 4 might be just general brand name drugs, and tier 5 specialty drugs. You'll notice that the copays get more expensive the higher up in the tiers that you go. And then, of course, the deductible generally is for drugs in tiers 3, 4, and 5, although that's not always the case. Okay. The drugs are going to cost you no more than $2,100 for the entire year. Once you've reached the true out-of-pocket max of $2,100, then you enter the catastrophic phase and you don't have to pay anything. You can see here 60% of it's covered by the prescription drug plan company, 20% of it's going to be covered by the drug manufacturer, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is kicking in 20%. So you're not paying anything after you wait. Okay. Beginning in 2028, we are likely to see the cost of the prescription drug plans go up because of the Inflation Reduction Act. And I just like to give people a heads up that 2028, we're going to see more higher 28, but for right now, you can still find a prescription drug plan for $0. Not always, but there are still quite a few out there. Okay, some things to know about the prescription drug plans. They're designed to lower your drug costs. They're designed to provide you protection against higher costs. If you don't enroll in a prescription drug plan when first eligible, a penalty may be incurred. And we've already talked about the formularies. So, like I said earlier, there are several prescription drug plans that are still $0 copay. There is no reason not to get on a prescription drug plan to protect you from a late enrollment penalty. I understand if you're not taking any drugs, the idea, why should I get on a plan? Well, it's insurance. You don't buy car insurance after you've been in the car accident. And you don't want to get a late enrollment penalty for not enrolling when you're first eligible, especially when you get plans for $0. It doesn't cost you anything if you're not taking any drugs. Might as well get covered. All right. With the prescription drug plan, Part D, there is an income-related monthly adjustment amount, just like with Part B. The amounts are still the same, so if you file a joint tax return and your income's above $218,000, you're going to have to pay attention to this chart, see where your income lies, and figure out how much more you're going to have to pay for your prescription drug plan. So if your income in 2024 was $250,000, you're going to pay $14.50 a month for your prescription drug plan in addition to your plan premium, which could be $0, but it could be more. For people with limited income and limited resources, I recommend that they fill out the application for the low-income subsidy. And at Patient Support Services, we can help you do that. Married couples with resources are less than $33,100. They recommend we have that discussion about whether or not you could qualify for the low-income subsidy. Same for if you're an individual and your resources are less than $16,590. Then let's have that discussion about whether or not it's a good idea to file for the low-income subsidy. When they talk about resources, they're not talking about the value of the house that you own or the car that you drive to get yourself to medical appointments. They exclude those from your resources. They're really looking primarily at, do you own multiple properties? Do you have money in the bank? What's your 401k situation? Things like that. Okay, so what we've covered so far is original Medicare and what your costs are on original Medicare. Then we talked about protecting those high out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan. The other option that you have is a Medicare Advantage plan, which combines all the Part A, the Part B, and the prescription drug into one plan. It operates very differently from a Medicare supplement policy. Some things to be aware of with an Advantage plan: you may have deductibles. You will have co-pays, possibly co-insurance. You will need to pay attention to the provider network. So are your providers in network? If you have an HMO, you have to stay in network. If you have a PPO, you might be able to go out of network if you can find a doctor that will accept you. I used to really promote the PPOs because of the flexibility they provided. Nowadays, I don't think it's near as important. Having a strong network with an HMO is just as valuable as having a PPO. And the reason is the physicians' offices, the hospitals, the clinics, they are so overwhelmed right now that they can't even take care of all of their clients that they currently have in the HMOs that they work with. So they're saying no to accepting people that are not already in their network. So a PPO just doesn't have the value that it once had, in my opinion. A lot of Medicare Advantage plans do come with a lot of nice extra benefits that people really do like and they gravitate to. So Medicare Advantage plans have to include routine dental, and that's not something that Medicare covers. So again, with a Medicare Advantage, you can look at combining something that has a routine dental, routine hearing. They might have other extra benefits that you find are really valuable and that you really like them. Of course, if you like the freedom to go anywhere you want, then you may want to look at the supplement policies and maybe get a standalone dental plan. So there's ways that we can fill those gaps for you, regardless of which plan you decide. It's really about what you're most comfortable with, and our job is to give you options and let you decide what you want to do once you've learned all of your options. All right. So your first step, enroll in Original Medicare. At our office, we help people do that. If you're not already on retirement benefits, we'll help you do your Medicare application and get it so that your Medicare begins when you want it to begin. Step 2, you have to decide. Do you want to go with a Medicare supplement policy and a standalone prescription drug plan? Or would you rather go with a Medicare Advantage plan that combines them all together into one plan for you? There are additional coverage options that we help people with here at Patient Support Services. Hospital copays, these are a big thing for people that are on Medicare Advantage plans. If you're hospitalized, it can be pretty expensive, and you're looking at having to pay a copay, a pretty good sized copay for the first 5 days. So we sell hospital indemnities, which charges a small premium, and if you're hospitalized, they help cover those costs. If you go to a skilled care facility, usually the first 20 days are covered for you in full, always, but usually. And then you have to come up with a pretty significant copay beginning at day 21. I would like to add that if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, the carriers are required by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to make sure that you fit all of the criteria. Every checkbox is checked to allow you to stay in the skilled nursing facility. So I have gotten complaints from some clients that they've been pushed out of the skilled nursing facility by their Medicare Advantage plan faster than they thought that they should have. So my experience has been that the Medicare Advantage plan companies, if you're worried about not getting kicked out of a skilled nursing facility, you may want to look at Original Medicare and a supplement policy to give you a little bit more freedom with not only where you can go, but how long you can stay. Okay, cancer, heart attack, and stroke. So Medicare and Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, yes, they cover the medical expenses for these, but you again may have copays, co-insurances, and you may have added expenses that you may not have thought about, such as traveling to and from to get treatment. You may have a daughter or a son that has to take time off work to come take care of you in your home, which leads me to another program that we offer, which is home health care. It's short-term home health care, but it actually covers a full 365 days, and it helps pay for your home health care and gives you a cash benefit too. The other one on here is Precision Care Cancer Policy. If you're diagnosed with cancer, then they will take your biopsy and analyze a more complete genomic sequencing than most cancer centers do, and they will work with your oncologist to develop a treatment plan that's specifically designed for your genomes more than what they will look at for a traditional cancer center. So my husband and I have that Precision Care Cancer Policy, and we just love having the security of knowing that we are going to get the best research information to help us out, and we'll have people working with our oncologists to help us beat it. So hospital plans, things to know. These will pay regardless of other coverage. They will pay if you're admitted as an inpatient or in your observation stays. The benefits range from 3 to 30 days typically. It does vary by state, and they will restore after you've been discharged for 60 days as long as you keep paying the premium. Great benefit. Why would you want cancer coverage? 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women may develop cancer in their lifetime. For me, there's cancer in my family. I don't feel like it's a if I get cancer, I feel it's more like when I get cancer. 34% of cancer survivors will have to borrow money to pay medical expenses. 80% will use their savings to pay for their medical expenses, and 40% experience a drop in income the first 3 years after a cancer diagnosis. Some things that you can use or lump sum payments for, you might need to modify your home. You might need assistance with the cost of transportation, lodging for treatment, living expenses, and to make up for that loss of income. Okay, I did not make it under 25 minutes. I hope you got some really good information. I hope I was able to give you some more insights. And if you have an appointment already scheduled with us, we look forward to serving you and answering your questions. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you want. Write down your questions, and we look forward to talking with you. If you don't have an appointment with us, feel free to give us a call at 503-383-7724 or send us an email to info@pss-usa.com. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.